Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradha Hari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradha Hari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanacham Hari Yamunatira Vanacham Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradha Hari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradha Hari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanacham Hari Yamunatira Vanacham Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradha Hari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradha Hari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanacham Hari Yamunatira Vanacham Hari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Shyam Sundar Radhe. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajagacchaya Shrota Sattva Shishmachila A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajagacchaya Shrota Sattva Shishmachila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki. Sirup Si Sanatan Bhattaraganath Si Jeev Gopal Bhattadass Saraganath Sar Goswami Prabhu ki. प्रेम से को श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवजरी गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री राधा कृष्ण गो गोपाल गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की मथुरा धाम की मायापुर धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की वृंद देवी तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की गंगा यमुना देवी की हरे नाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की श्री श्री गौनिताय की श्री श्री कृष्ण बलराम की श्री श्री राधा श्याम सुंदर की गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल समवेत भक्त वृंद की all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Śrī Guru Śrī Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Reading from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, 6th chapter, text number 38. Kaccin nobhaya-vibhraṣṭaś chinnābhram iva naśyati apratiṣṭho mahā-bāho vimūḍho brahmaṇaḥ pathi kaccin nobhaya-vibhraṣṭaś chinnābhram iva naśyati apratiṣṭho mahā-bāho, vimūḍho brahmaṇaḥ pathi, kaccin nobhaya-vibhraṣṭaś, chinnābhram naśyati, apratiṣṭho mahā-bāho, vimūḍho brahmaṇaḥ pathi, kaccin nobhaya-vibhraṣṭaś, chinnābhram naśyati, apratiṣṭho mahā-bāho, vimūḍho brahmaṇaḥ pathi, kaccin nobhaya-vibhraṣṭaś, chinnābhram naśyati, apratiṣṭho mahā-bāho, vimūḍho brahmaṇaḥ pathi. Anybody else? Kaccin nobhaya-vibhraṣṭaś, chinnābhram naśyati, apratiṣṭho mahā-bāho, vimūḍho brahmaṇaḥ pathi. Ladies? Kaccin nobhaya-vibhraṣṭaś, chinnābhram naśyati, apratiṣṭho mahā-bāho, vimūḍho brahmaṇaḥ pathi. Kaccin nobhaya-vibhraṣṭaś, chinnābhram naśyati, apratiṣṭho mahā-bāho, vimūḍho brahmaṇaḥ pathi. Kaccit, whether, na, not, ubhaya, both, vibhraṣṭaḥ, deviated from, chinna, torn, abhram, cloud, iva, like, naśyati, perishes, apratiṣṭha, without any position, mahā-bāho, O mighty armed Krishna, vimūḍha, bewildered, brahmaṇaḥ of transcendence, pathi, on the path. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere? Purport. There are two ways to progress. Those who are materialists have no interest in transcendence, therefore they are more interested in material advancement by economic development or in promotion to the higher planets by appropriate work. When one takes to the path of transcendence, one has to cease all material activities and sacrifice all forms of so-called material happiness. If the aspiring transcendentalist fails, then he apparently loses both ways. In other words, he can enjoy neither material happiness nor spiritual success. He has no position. He is like a riven cloud. A cloud in the sky sometimes deviates from a small cloud and joins a big one. But if it cannot join a big one, then it is blown away by the wind and becomes a non-entity in the vast sky. The Brahmaṇaḥ pathi is the path of transcendental realization through knowing oneself to be spiritual in a sense. part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, who is manifested as Brahman, Paramātmā and Bhagavān. Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa is the fullest manifestation of the Supreme Absolute Truth. And therefore one who is surrendered to the Supreme Person is a successful transcendentalist. To reach this goal of life through Brahman and Paramātmā realization takes many, many births. Bhāvanam janmanam ante. Therefore the supermost path of transcendental realization is bhakti-yoga or Krishna consciousness, the direct method. Bandeham Śrī Guru Śrī Uttapada-kamalam Śrī Gurun Vaishnavamscha Śrī Rūpam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Śrī Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Śrī Vishagandvidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dīnabandho Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Brijavano Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Paritanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Śrī Advaita Gadadhara Śivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. So, Arjuna in this chapter entitled Dhyana Yoga is expressing is telling Krishna that the system of yoga which we have explained is not so easy to perform, and specifically Arjuna is saying that to control the mind is very difficult. The mind is very restless. And is expressing, and it seems to me that it's more difficult to control the mind than the wind. So we know we can feel, through the trees also, and the leaves on the trees, on the branches of the tree, we can see that the wind is there and we can feel. And if the clouds are there, then we can see also the wind is moving the clouds. Or some incense is there and we can see the wind is there, but to control is not really possible, the wind. The demigods are there controlling the wind under the supervision of the Supreme Lord, and the demigods are empowered to some extent to control the material elements. Or the sun god is there, the moon god is there, the water god is there, the wind god is there. So and the mind is there, so more subtle actually than the gross body, than the gross elements which are there, of course, earth, water, fire, air, or wind and ether. So the subtle body is there, mind, intelligence and the false ego, identification with this material body. I'm American, I'm man, woman. So that is, of course, in this material world, it is temporary identity. So that cannot be denied. Even we know we are spirit soul, we are not this body. Even we may realize, but we are in this body, so the identity is there. And if you want to go somewhere from here to America, then we need a passport. And then at the airport, then they will check. They will ask, okay, where's your ticket? Where's your passport? And then they will see the passport. They will say, so you're Mr. Smith? Then you cannot say, no, I'm spirit soul. I'm not this body. I'm not Mr. Smith. No. So, some reality is there, but it is temporary reality. But the real identity is that I am the eternal servant of Krishna. And even further than that, knowing one's transcendental form in relationship to Krishna. Not just as a servant, but in loving a relationship, as a friend, or having parental or conjugal relationship, affection for Krishna. So that is the real identity, and regards to this material world, that is the temporary identity. So, and we should not identify, but we cannot also reject it. And the body, the present existence, so can be used to free ourselves from the false bodily identification. So for doing that, we have to take shelter of the representative of the Lord, the Spiritual Master. We have to take shelter then by the mercy of the Spiritual Master and following the process given by the Spiritual Master, chanting the holy names, then we can take shelter of Krishna. And then we can realize practically, not just theoretically, that we are spirit soul. And that is the goal of life, to realize ourselves, our spiritual self, and our relationship with Krishna. But in order to achieve that, so we have to follow the process given in the scriptures explained by the Spiritual Master, and we have to seriously follow the process. Sincerely and seriously we have to follow the process. Engaging the senses in the service of the Lord. Engaging the mind and the intelligence, everything. Tan, man, vacha. The body, the words, the mind, the intelligence has to be surrendered to Krishna. And then we can be successful. So the practicing devotees is endeavoring. But in the conditioned state, so obstacles are there. Obstacles coming from the body, from the own body. Disease may be there. Or here the point of the mind is there. It is difficult to control the mind. And sometimes mental disease is there. So it is not easy to control the mind. And actually Krishna has explained in the 6th chapter, also in the beginning, that for one who has controlled the mind, so the super soul is reached. And then the mind is the best friend. But if one is not able to control the mind, then the mind can be the greatest enemy, is actually the greatest enemy. So we have to endeavor to control the mind. But on our own it is not possible either. So we endeavor, we follow the process, chanting the holy names, mantra, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and mantra. So that is there, the mantra is there, and as the word mantra also explains, mantra. Man means the mind, tra means to free. the mind from the material entanglement. So by chanting the holy names, then one comes to the transcendental platform. And then one's real ego will be there. I'm the servant of Krishna. And then ultimately transcendental intelligence will be there. And then transcendental consciousness, transcendental mind. And then one can see oneself as different from the body, and then the transcendental senses are there. And then we can really engage in the service of the Lord. But one has to be very, very patient with oneself, or to speak with others. So not only difficulties are there from the body and the mind, but then so adhyatmik, adhidaivik, adhibhautik klesh. So the natural catastrophes are there in this world, too much rain, or not enough rain, or earthquake, or even, of course, snakes may be there, and one has to be careful. Of course, now not so many snakes here like in Vrindavan, but 45 years ago, there were not so many houses here. And there were many gardens, and of course nearby the forests are there, and then the snakes will be there. And almost every day we used to see a snake going from the Goshala to the temple. Then you have to be careful. So difficulties are there. And mosquitoes are there, and if you're bitten by some mosquitoes, so then you may get disease, malaria, and now dengue fever also caused by the mosquito, or a new form of disease, chikungunya, and so which is painful actually, and even sometimes people die also, but rarely, but it may be also. But from snake bite, then one can, if the poisonous snake is biting, one will die. So one has to be careful, and the difficulties are there. In this material world, constantly some difficulty will be there, one or the other. But we have to learn to tolerate, and one has to take shelter of Krishna by serving Him, glorifying Him, remembering Him, praying to Him. And then we can tolerate and we can overcome the difficulties. So which are coming and going, just like the seasons. They're coming and going. So controlling the mind is difficult, and so Arjuna is expressing to Krishna that it is very difficult to control this mind. And Krishna is replying, yes, my dear son of Kunti, it is very difficult to control the restless mind. But it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. Abhyasena, vairagyena. So we have to practice. So practice means, abhyas means engaging in devotional activities. Abhyas, yoga abhyas. And vairagya, one has to then try to become detached from this material world, from material activities. So one cannot enjoy this material world and then also hope to be able to advance in spiritual life. It is not possible. But actually by engaging in spiritual activities, by serving Krishna, there is a reciprocation. And then we can get transcendental bliss. There is transcendental enjoyment which is far superior than material enjoyment. But due to the modes of material nature, due to not being mature yet in spiritual life, So it is not so easy to become detached from this material world and to become attached to Krishna. But one has to practice. One has to try to be constantly engaged in devotional activities, and then one has to try to control the mind and senses, try to become detached. And so for that purpose, for example, on Ekadashi, so it is recommended to abstain from eating too much, not completely abstaining from eating, but we should not eat too much. One should not even drink too much. One should not sleep too much. And then at the same time one should increase one's spiritual activities. So every Ekadashi, we should do that. And then 4 months in the year one should again also do some austerity, doing Chaturmas. And Prabhupada gave the minimum, like first month not to eat any spinach, second month no yogurt, third no milk, fourth no urad dal. So that is the minimum. But Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada or Mahaprabhu, they were more strict. And they followed many rules and regulations. And then, but the main point is that we have to try to increase our spiritual activities. So one has to endeavor to be more and more absorbed, and one has to endeavor to become detached, vairagya. And Krishna is explaining, so if one is not endeavoring, and if one is not able to control the mind, then it will be difficult to realize oneself. It is actually not possible. But one who is trying to control the mind, and who is practicing, so then actually, ultimately he will be successful, because Krishna is actually helping. Krishna is there to help us, himself. But then he's also sending his representative, the spiritual master, because we can not perceive Krishna yet fully. We may see the deities and understand that Krishna is there, but if one is not pure enough, one cannot practically see Krishna or understand that Krishna is fully present, and one cannot talk with Krishna, or there is no exchange there. So therefore, Krishna is sending his representative, the spiritual master. And we can talk to him, we can ask him questions, we can serve him. And then he will help us. So Krishna Kripa Srimurti, the spiritual master, is the personification of Krishna's mercy. Is there to help us. So then Arjuna is asking, so what is the destination of a devotee who is trying to advance, but is not successful? So he is taking up the process of self-realization, but then due to still being attached to materialistic activities, he may give that up. Or he may become slack and reduce his spiritual activities. And he may then not attain perfection. So then what is his fate? Krishna also already in the 2nd chapter he was explaining that if one is engaged in spiritual activities, but if he's not successful, but still there will be benefit there. And so he may not attain perfection, but because of his endeavor to engage in spiritual activities, to advance, then after giving up the body, he will be able to take birth in an aristocratic family or a family of devotees. And then he will have again an opportunity to engage in devotional service, to advance in spiritual life, and then he may attain perfection. So Krishna is always there to help, directly, or through his representative, the spiritual master. So Arjuna is, of course, a pure devotee of the Lord, but by the Lord's arrangement, so he is put in this situation and is asking questions from Krishna for our benefit, for the benefit of the fallen conditioned souls. So by the Lord's arrangement he feels some difficulty and some bewilderment, but we understand that his bewilderment is not material, it is spiritual. But by Krishna's arrangement it is such that he's expressing his desire to take full shelter, and then is bewildered by the internal potency, not exactly sure what to do and what not to do, and then Krishna is guiding him. So many questions then are asked by Arjuna, and Krishna is answering. So for the benefit of the fallen conditioned souls. So just like previous verse, so is expressing his doubt and his fear that what will happen to a person who is engaged in spiritual activities but is not successful. So because he's engaged in spiritual activities, so he's not engaged in this world, in earning money and so. So therefore, so he's expressing here that so he may not be spiritually successful, and because he's spiritually not successful, and because he's not engaged in material activities, then the material success result will not be there. So then what will be his situation? And then the example is given here of a cloud, a small cloud. So clouds are there together, but sometimes it's a smaller cloud and then it is separated from the bigger cloud, and then it just goes in the sky. So he's expressing in this way. So then Krishna, of course, after Arjuna is asking Krishna to please dispel my doubt, and is expressing, I think only you can dispel my doubt. And then Krishna is answering. And is expressing also that for one who does good, he is never overcome by evil. If you engage in spiritual activities, if you do good for others, then you will be always benefited actually. And you will be helped by Krishna, by the arrangement of the Lord, and there will be less difficulty in one's life. So we cannot be without difficulties. Even a devotee, he has to face difficulties. But because he surrendered to Krishna, he can overcome the difficulties. He can tolerate the difficulties. And he is constantly engaged in spiritual activities, in devotional service. So here it is mentioned that if one is not successful, Krishna is explaining that he may take birth in a family of transcendentalists, in a family of devotees. And then so he may achieve perfection ultimately, in due course of time. And then also because here he was explaining about the yogis, so, and as explained by Prabhupada in the Purport, and it is mentioned in the Śrīmad Bhagavatam that there are three transcendentalists. Brahmaetvi, Paramātmēti, Bhagavan iti sadyate. So, famous verse from the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, first canto. So the transcendentalists who are in search or who are striving for perfection. So they see, and they will explain. As mentioned in the scriptures, there are three transcendentalists. Those who want to merge in the Brahma, the personal aspect of the absolute truth, which is Krishna's effulgence actually. The Brahma Jyoti is Krishna's effulgence. And they may merge there, but then there is no activity there. So they may stay there for millions of years. But they will not realize their Swarup there, their actual position as eternal servant of Krishna. The Swarup is there, but it is dormant. It is in seed-like form. So there is no use in merging in Brahma Jyoti. And then those who are more fortunate, Paramātmā, they understand that the Super Soul is in the heart, trying to guide the embodied human being. Of course, there are so many kinds of mahā-bāho impersonalists, also many kinds of persons who are meditating on Paramātmā, yogi, doing yoga abhyas, yoga practice, as mentioned here also, dhyana yoga, or ashtanga yoga, hatha yoga, and so on. But they do not understand that they are meant to serve Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And some of these yogis, they want to even merge in the body of the Lord. They see that the body is there of the Lord and they want to merge in that. So it is just like the mahā-bāho impersonalists. And others, they simply want to meditate on Paramātmā and be self-satisfied, but they don't have the seva-bhāv, the desire, the mood to serve Krishna, so they are also not complete. But then most complete, and that is the actual situation of the living entity, that is to serve Krishna. So that is Bhagavan realization that the absolute truth is a person. He has a beautiful form, he is residing in the spiritual realm, either in Vaikuntha or in Golok, and they are unlimited personality of Godhead. In Vishnu Loka, names are given also, Narayan, Vasudev, Madhusudan, and so on. Form of the Lord. And they are accompanied by Lakshmi Devi in each Vaikuntha planet. So one form of the Absolute is there, form, Vishnu or Narayan, accompanied by different Lakshmi Devis. But the highest planet and the source of all, that is Krishna Loka, and where Krishna is residing. He is residing in Dwarka in Mathura and Braj, Golok Vrindavan simultaneously. But the original form is the form of Krishna in Braj. And that is also mentioned in the Bhagavatam, Ete chamsa kalapam sam Krishnastu Bhagavan Sayam. Krishna is Swami Bhagavan, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. And all other personalities of Godhead are simply expansions or the expansions of the expansions of Krishna. So in Golok, where Krishna is residing, is the most exalted, the highest planet, the biggest planet. And there he is served by his associates, by his friends, by his parents. Although Krishna is the source of everything, tattva vichar, everything is coming from Krishna, even his parents and everything. But in the past time, Lila vichar, the consideration of the past time, Krishna is the father and the mother in the past time. And there's a loving exchange, wonderful exchange. So Krishna, who is speaking Bhagavad Gita, is Vasudeva Krishna, the first expansion of Yashodananda Krishna. So he's speaking the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna and he's giving this transcendental knowledge. And he's explaining that of all the yogis, so those who karma yoga, those who do some work but they give up the result of their work to Krishna, karma yogis. And then the jnana yogi, yoga means to link with the Lord. So by one's activity and surrendering the result, one is connected to the Lord. One is connecting to the Lord. Actually, we are eternally connected to Krishna, and that connection is never broken. But in conditioned state, one is not aware of one's position. But then by engaging in various activities, then we will realize our connection, and it is revived. So by giving up the result of one's activities in karma yoga, or by cultivating transcendental knowledge, like even the personalists, they're also transcendentalists, but they're in the beginning stage. And those who are meditating on the super soul within the heart. But nobody has eternal relationship with the super soul, because the super soul is only present in this material world. He's transcendental, but is there guiding the conditioned soul. So when the devotee becomes liberated, then the super soul is, so to say, backing off, and then the relationship is there with Vishnu or with Krishna. Or when the material existence is finished, so then the super soul is entering Mahavishnu, and Mahavishnu is entering Shankarshan, Mahashankarshan, Vishnu Murti, known as Shankarshan. So, but Krishna is the origin of all. And so, Krishna, Vasudeva Krishna is explaining the process, and he himself is declaring, and all the great sages are saying that by the process of devotional service, bhakti-yoga, one can achieve perfection, one can realize Krishna, one can realize one's spiritual nature. So yoginam abhisavresham vadkanten antaratmana saravan bhajate mam saravan bhajanti yomam same yukta tamamataha. Of all yogis, he who is always thinking about me, abiding in me, thinking of me within himself, and is rendering transcendental loving service, is the greatest yogi. So that is Krishna's opinion, and that is the opinion of all the great saintly persons. That is the fact, that is the absolute truth. So Krishna, of course, very easily is dispelling the doubts of Arjuna. And through the Bhagavad Gita, the conversation of Krishna with Arjuna, or Arjuna asking the questions and Krishna answering, and then the conditioned soul, who is taking shelter of the process of devotional service, who is reading or hearing Bhagavad Gita, he can advance very nicely in devotional life. So by the mercy of Krishna, so we just observed the Mokshada Ekadashi a few days ago, 3 days ago. That is the day when Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna in Kurukshetra, near Delhi. So, and it has been written down by Vyasadeva, an empowered incarnation of Krishna, the literary incarnation of Krishna. And it is presented to the world. Actually, there are so many editions of Bhagavad Gita, but the Bhagavad Gita should be presented by the devotee of the Lord, the pure devotee of the Lord. So as Prabhupada, and then there will be effect. And then we can really understand Krishna. We can understand what Krishna is saying. Otherwise it is not possible, and it is not possible to advance. So we are very fortunate. So by Krishna's mercy, so we have the Bhagavad Gita, and it is also the mercy of Mahaprabhu who established the Yuganama, the chanting of the holy names, the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So he is giving the process of devotional service, and Mahaprabhu was also glorifying the Bhagavad Gita, and then all the acharyas in our sampradaya, so they have recommended that we read the Bhagavad Gita, especially in the beginning, and later on we can study the Bhagavatam, then we can advance further, and then ultimately by reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita about Mahaprabhu's life, then we can fully understand the process of devotional service by which we can attain perfection in devotional life, surrendering to Krishna and Braj. So for the devotee there should be no doubt. Krishna is always there to help us. He is more eager to help us than we are eager to go to Him, to serve Him. So therefore, we should simply try our best to chant nicely, to be in the association of the devotees, and to hear every day Bhagavad Gita, Śrīmad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the association of the devotees, especially those who are more advanced, and then we can advance nicely and attain perfection. Hare Krishna. Any question? Everything is very clear, no doubts, wonderful. Hare Krishna. Śrīmad Bhagavad Gita ki, Krishna Chandram Bhagavan ki, Satyanandana Gaura Hari ki, Śrīla Rupa Goswami Pada ki, Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki, Śrīla Isi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada ki, Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol.